Please, sir, may I have some replays? That was me about a half hour or so ago, making my rounds on Discord. As you may be aware, the new multiplayer balance patch in StarCraft 2 is live, the new map pool is now available, and usually, whenever there's a new patch, you can still watch old replays. For some reason, this time around, I guess the Blizzard intern forgot to, I don't know. Anyways, for some reason, all of the replays are now completely broken, and the only replays that I can cast moving forward are the ones from the current patch. Now, that's fine if there are a bunch of replay packs already available, but obviously, since it's been like 24 hours at this point, there simply aren't a whole lot. So, the first person that got back to me, massive shout out to our Protoss player, spawning right here in the top right-hand corner of a map called Post Youth. He says that this game is not necessarily amazing, but if I'm really desperate, I can go ahead and check it out with the red Protoss pieces. We have none other than the Cowboy, of course, better known as Harstem. This is one of his latter games. His opponent, though, in the opposite corner, playing with the blue Zorg drones, the greatest player in the world. He goes by the name of Serral. This is such a cursed map. This is going to be such an experimental match that I don't really know exactly what to expect, because honestly, it's a new patch, there's a bunch of balance changes, all of them relatively minor. I honestly think the biggest change with this new update are the maps. A whole lot of maps have been cycled out and a bunch of new ones have been added in, and the first one we're gonna have a look at is called Post Youth. This is the strangest map that I have seen in years. This, when I first had a look at it, I thought it was a 2 versus 2 map. Because there is an in-base expansion with half golden minerals that you can just sort of take. I mean, this is what 2v2 maps look like, right? There's a second ramp right over here too. There's one, I guess that's kind of normal with like unbuildable plates here at the bottom so you can't get cannon rushed. Or I guess bunker rushed or whatever. But then there's another ramp right over. What's this ramp doing here? What's the point? Why is that lady putting on latex gloves? I don't know. I've got a lot of questions. Yeah, I don't know what's going on this map. So, because of that, I can imagine that this is not necessarily going to be the best game of StarCraft 2 we'll ever see, but it should at the very least still give us a decent understanding of what's going on. So, the map maker of this particular map, he very specifically said that he tried making a map without a natural. So, this, I guess, is your first expansion, but it's in base, so it's not really a natural expansion necessarily. And then this base, the third right now that Serral just took, is incredibly far away. Now, it's gonna take a little while before we know how good these maps are. I think it's gonna be a very exciting couple of weeks as a viewer and a caster of StarCraft 2. I feel like as a player, it's gonna be a very frustrating couple of weeks until these maps get figured out. Oh, is that Nova? Look at these little guys right over here. Oh, yeah, looking at Nova like that? Can't believe it. Anyways, if you are interested in staying up to date, so we do have the adept shading in right now. Alright, getting 2 drones for the time being. Yeah, 2 drones for 2 adepts is not ideal. Third would be nice. Alright, that's a little bit better. Especially since you just forced out a bunch of Zerglings too. 3.5 minute third nexus right here from the Cowboy. Okay, Harstem, calm down. Anyways, if you are interested in watching some more StarCraft 2, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. I'm trying my very best to get as many replays and games coming your way, but I can imagine it's gonna take about maybe a half week or so, maybe a week, until there are a bunch of replay packs available where we do get to enjoy some of these maps a little bit more. Obviously, there are a bunch of ongoing tournaments too, so we do see these Zerglings getting denied. There's a bunch of ongoing tournaments right now as well, and generally speaking, those tournaments, they may be forced to play with the new balance patch. Again, not too significant, all things considered, but secondly, they usually consider the tournament map pool to be set right at the very start of the tournament. So, for things like, for example, the GSL Code S, those replays should be available very soon. As of me casting it, I think they are going to send out another pack of that this afternoon. The problem is that, yeah, I can imagine that those games are going to be played with the old map pool. Yeah, there's no way they're going to... That's a tournament that goes on for like 6 weeks. There's no way they're going to make that switch. Anyways, Twilight Council on the back of this right now here for Harstem, who is going to get a really nice economy right at the very start. I don't love the Oracle movement here, because I can imagine he probably expected that he was going to have a slightly easier time getting down towards his opponent's side of the map. Roachworn going down in the middle of nowhere right now for Serral, who's going +1 melee, and who only just now started up a Spore Crawler around 5 minutes over at the third base, but the Queens at the very least are keeping all of this alive. I wonder if the Cowboy could get away with a base at this timing so frequently, because this really does feel incredibly greedy. I know a bunch of people have been talking about the current first impressions of the map pool, and it seems that the general consensus is that the maps are really good for Terran. I'm not exactly sure about this one. Honestly, we'll have to see what the statistic actually will show us in a few weeks from now, right? I mean, you can always, like, have your initial impressions really. Like, there's a lot of high grounds and a lot of choke points and stuff, and generally that's good for siege tanks. But only time will really tell. Golden base right over here, too. My god, what's going on here? So we have a... This map is weird. We have an in-base expansion, then a very far away third, a double ramp, and then a fourth base that's very easy to take, even as a third, because you don't really need that one. With a hole over here in between the mineral fields, but then there are more golden minerals available, then it's 6 mineral fields in the main base rather than a conventional 8, with half of them being gold too. Big circling run by over here as the Cowboy is also trying to attempt to take this base. It looks like it will be cancelled. Stalkers in the meantime, trying their very best to see if maybe they can get the kill on this particular expansion. Zerglings though, yeah, they were still available from the other side, so they're gonna try and get a wraparound. The odds are pretty big, by the way, that this is both of these players' first time playing this map. So you gotta take everything you see here with a grain of salt. I can imagine that this is gonna be a map that's gonna require literally hundreds of games before we know what's actually supposed to be done here. Oh, okay. Zerglings trying to get the wraparound. There's still those oracles up in the air, though. Thing is, these are +1 melee Zerglings, and that makes them significantly more powerful, especially against just Stalkers without really any upgrades. Hive coming up right now as well at the 7-minute mark right here for Serral, who's actually skipped the Evo Chamber upgrades in favor of a Baneling Nest. So we have a Baneling Nest coming up right now together with Roaches. I think those are really just to keep him safe. What are we taking the Hive for? Is it just... I would imagine we go +2 melee, yeah. Okay, it's probably for Adrenal Glands and then +2 melee and maybe a Colossus Abductor or two. A Viper or two. I think that would probably be a good choice. I don't think this is going to be Ultralisks, mostly because of the fact that we don't have any armor upgrades. Although there is a second Evo Chamber coming up right now, so maybe. Harstem finishes up the gold base, and at this point, he's sitting at more workers than Serral. That is quite significant. Now, I say specifically at this point because there's a ton of drones on the production tab. Our Zerg player is going to be able to catch up here in just a moment. Storm on the back of this? Okay. We already have some very creative builds here, though. I think I actually like the build order from Harstem better than the one from Serral. Although, obviously, again, he is kind of getting away with murder here, and I'm not entirely sure if he should be able to. The fact that this is a low ground gold is kind of nuts. Like, I guess you could expand over in that direction instead, but that feels like it's miles away from where that third base is located. Zealot run by all the way towards the top left-hand corner, but this is an easy location for the Zerg to spread creep into, so I don't think... Yeah, I don't think that's a particularly useful spot. I guess you could also skip the gold and go for that base instead. Obviously, it's mirrored. Yeah, that's the one that the Cowboy is now taking on the right side of the map. Yes, we do have some water over here, by the way. Look at that. Huh. I kind of like that. That's like a drainage pipe over there. That's cool. Look at that. By the way, why is the map called Post Youth? Is this the map maker calling us StarCraft fans out for being old? Is this the Zoomer equivalent of, you know, us being called boomers? I'm not exactly sure how this works. Fourth base is not going to happen for now. Storm should be available. Banelings trying to make their way to the mineral line. Okay. Bunch of probes end up going down, but nothing all too crazy. My main concern right now for Harstem is that he is going up against a maxed out Zerg player. There's the Adrenal Glands upgrade. +2, +1. So this is not an ultra transition. This is basically Serral going full glass cannon. Trying to maximize the damage and trying to, well, roll Banelings around the map. There is obviously that opening right over here. I was gonna say, I don't think you should commit there anymore. Just kill the Zealots and go back. There's a lot of angles at which these Banelings could be rolling in. Greater Spire coming up right now together with one Corruptor. That Corruptor is really just rallied on top of that Prism just to try and deny it. Fair enough. So, Lingbane, Roach Ravager for the Zerg into Brute Lords. Whereas we have Oracles into Stalkers. Was that a kill? Okay, he was busy over there, I guess. A couple probes end up going down. Quite a few Banelings too, he did get the kill. Anyways, this is Oracles into Stalkers into a bunch of Archon Immortal Storm. Obviously, Zealots with charge as well. Problem here for Protoss is that he does not have a good answer against Brute Lords at the moment. This is a good unit composition against, for example, Lurkers. But Stalkers are not usually a very reliable choice when you go up to about 8 to maybe even 12 Brute Lords. Once it goes above that amount, as we do have another Baneling roll by over here. That's 16 probes still in total. Once you go to a decent number of Brute Lords, though, Stalkers have a very hard time cutting it. That is a lot of Archons. Ugh. I don't think the Cowboy realizes that this is... Where even is the Spire? Yeah, he has not seen the Spire. Another run by over here with Links. These are properly upgraded. No blink forward. So he is maybe at the blink on cooldown. He's not able to protect that expansion one more time. And this is really just Serral trying to buy time here, right? Like that's the problem here for the Zerg. There was a timing attack that the Cowboy could have gone for right before Brute Lords are out. We only have a one morphing in, so the timing window is not entirely closed yet. But he really does need to get a move on, because if the Brute Lord numbers grow, there's really no way he's going to be able to do much damage with this particular army. More Banelings morphing in. Another expansion coming up all the way in the top left-hand corner. I do like this Watchtower, by the way. Very easy vision here. We do have more Banelings here rolling in, but very easy vision here for the Cowboy. The Watchtower providing all the intel he truly needs. 3 more Brute Lords are coming up, but this is an opportunity, though. I think Harstem can potentially deal... I think he should go. Yeah, he sees one Brute right now, so that's only a singular Brute Lord. But apparently that is already enough to scare off all of these units. Usually when there's smoke, there's fire. And when there's Corruptors, it's gonna be Brute Lords before too long, so... Okay, Harstem playing it quite conservatively here. He's gotten very good at that. Instead decides to go for this base, making use of some of that immobility right now that these Brute Lords have. Lovely work. It's a lot of Banelings, by the way. So there is a point where you do have to make a transition as Protoss towards a Skytles-based army as well. There's a moment where you just simply will not be able to rely on your ground units very easily anymore. Looks like one Templar will end up going down. Okay, there it is. Fleet Beacon coming up together with a second Stargate and then also the +1 air weapons. We've got ourselves a nice little macro game here in the making. As good as the timing window for the Cowboy was just now, there's an opportunity here for the Zerg to attack as well. He's got himself a lot of Brute Lords out, and at this point there's really not a whole lot for the Protoss available to try and deal with the Brutes. It's gonna be some time until Carriers or Tempest or whatever hit the battlefield. So this is an opportunity for Serral to go for a push. Oh, storms! Big storms! Very, very lovely storms. Okay. Both of them are playing very conservatively. Yeah, ultimately this is also just exploration of the map, right? Winning is nice and all, but ladder practice like this particular game, I mean, you obviously want to win, but you may as well take a little bit longer than you absolutely need to. At least I can imagine we'll see some more committed fights as time goes on, especially when there's tournament money on the line. These two, by the way, are becoming neighbors. Very close to one another. This map is wild. I think I'm gonna love casting games on this map, but I think a lot of pro gamers are gonna... The thing is, they can't veto it very easily, because there's a whole lot of weird maps in the map pool right now. Like, you can't veto everything. Anyways, that's another kill on the Nexus. Looks like the speed right now may just be a little too slow on the side of our Protoss player. At the very least, he's missed the cancel a bunch of times here. Roaches are going to be sacrificed at this point in time to try and open up supply for some higher tier units, as Serral is going from Brute Lords into Lurkers. Historically, a bit of a strange transition, but these days, it is very strong, especially when Protoss is not really showing any signs of going into a Skytles-based army. At this point, I don't think Serral has really seen much, although he may have seen... Oh no, he's got an Overseer. Of course he's seen it. Silly Lowko, thinking Serral didn't scout. Trying to get the stab right over here at that base. At this point, though, I mean, I'm impressed right now with the way that Harstem is playing this. At this point, he's in a really nice position. He just doesn't have an army to deal with the army of the Zerg, right? And he's got all the potential to start producing it. It's just that I'm a little afraid of what happens when these Lurkers are out. Because when you're going up against Lurker Brute Lord, you cannot win with a ground-based Protoss army. As long as Zork is in the right position, unless you can run circles around him, I guess, there's really just no way that you can fight it. And I think this is the opportunity, yeah, that Serral has been waiting for. So going from Brute Lords, very defensive early game, other than the Baneling rollbys, I suppose. Now we're going into Mass Lurker. And the Cowboy, a little bit too slow on the Stargate transition. I think he's in a world of trouble here. Now finally a Tempest starts up. It's +2 air weapons. That's like 40% of the way done at this point. Okay, Lurkers. Oh, getting a really good tunneling right over here. Trying to get on the ground, okay. This is what I'm talking about. Like, that was the best case scenario for those Stalkers. But right now, Harstem, he sees the buihangen, as we say in the Netherlands. He sees what's gonna happen in the near future, and he decides to tap out.